Hi, my name's Chris. I'm one of the leaders of Grace Church in Hilton, and this is the first session of Same Again. Over the last few months, the world has been turned upside down, hasn't it? Well, mine has at least. I've not been to the place I usually go to work since March, and I've only been able to see some members of my family very recently. I wonder how you're feeling now that the restrictions are starting to ease. I spoke to somebody yesterday who said that they're more fearful now than they ever have been. Are you looking forward to things being the same again? Or are you dreading the idea of it all just being the same again? Have you had the chance to think about how you want the world to be post-lockdown? Maybe you can't wait for sports fixtures to start up again. Or maybe you were quite glad that they'd stopped. Perhaps you've discovered a new love for the outdoors and you're going to go seeking adventure. Or maybe you'd rather just stay curled up with a book. Even a quick survey of your friends, I think, would reveal that we all have a very different idea of what we want the world to be like. But I think there are going to be themes that are the same for all of us in our hopes and dreams. We all want a world with no coronavirus, don't we? Maybe a world with no illness at all. A world with no hunger, with no famine, with no devastation. I think we can all agree that the world we all want, everyone has enough food and drink. We can all enjoy ourselves. We're free to do that. And we can all reach our full potentials. We want a world where we don't grow frail. We won't lose our memories. We won't lose those we love. We won't hurt others, nor be hurt by them. The last two chapters of the Bible describe this world that we all want. And the more I read it, the more convinced I am that this is nothing like it. And if we're honest with ourselves, we all hope for something better. And I think our recent experiences have emphasised that all the more. Well, today I want to share with you two surprising things that the Bible says about that world that we all want. First, as the Bible describes these things, it's claiming that God has promised to bring it all about. At the end of the Bible, God says, "I am making all things new." Well, that means it's not going to come about by a revolution. No economic policy systems are going to sort it. Philosophers and politicians aren't going to make it happen. Fascism, communism, liberalism, capitalism, or any other ism isn't going to deliver this world. Self-help groups and psychotherapy won't bring it into existence, nor will acts of terrorism or UN declarations. The Bible claims that only God can bring it into existence, and that He's promised to do it. And after describing it all in its breathtaking beauty, in case that we're tempted to doubt it, to think it's just unrealistic fantasy, the writer says don't. Twice he makes a point of emphasising the reliability of this promise. He repeats the phrase, "These words are faithful and true." He's saying, listen up, you'd better believe this, because let's be honest, it could sound a bit too good to be true. Well, we can easily get lost in these kind of dreams and then find ourselves getting excited about the possibility of this new world. But then it doesn't take much to bring us back down to earth, does it? Often with a bump. Something as ordinary as litter or dog poo on the path outside your house. Or a splitting headache after a long day at work. Or maybe it's hearing tragic news from a friend, or even the loss of someone we love. It doesn't take much to make us think that this perfect world can never come true. As good as this sounds, we're maybe just destined for it all to be the same again. But before we dismiss such a dream, let's turn to another part of the Bible, because the second surprising thing I want you to see is this. We find that there was a time in history when this world that we all want already existed. The Gospel of Mark is not looking into the future, it's about events that have already happened, and it's describing them from a first-person perspective. Mark knew the people involved in the events, and he saw many of them happen himself. Mark tells us about a man called Jesus, a man who lived around 2,000 years ago in Israel, a man who had a profound impact on our history. In Mark 5, he shows Jesus to be a miracle worker. He healed a woman with a health problem. But she also had a social problem. Her illness made her an outcast, and so she'd spent all of her money on doctors trying to find a cure, but no cure had been found. Until Jesus walked by. She was convinced that if she could just touch the edge of his cloak even, she would be completely well. And that's exactly what happened. He then goes on to tell us about a young girl who was brought back from the dead. Everyone was convinced that they'd lost her. Jesus simply spoke to her and she came back to life. At the end of the Bible, we hear of this world where there's no more death, no more mourning, no more sadness. The young girl is brought back from the dead, and the mourning and the crying stop. In Mark's account of Jesus' life, we hear that he calmed a storm that was threatening people's lives. He released people from evil spirits. He healed the sick. He fed the hungry. He raised people from the dead. And if all of that's true, then Jesus is capable of creating this world we all want as well, isn't he? Of course, that was just a glimpse. Even as Jesus was giving life back to the girl, there were countless others dying. Even as he is bringing healing to that woman, there were thousands of other people in the world suffering. So the world that we all want did not fully exist, but it was real. It was like peeling back the curtain, giving us a glimpse of what the world could be. Imagine tasting some food as it's being prepared by a skillful chef, or sneaking into the kitchen while someone's making tea and dipping your finger in the pan and having a taste. That taste tantalises your taste buds, doesn't it? And as you look forward to the meal, your mouth is watering as you can't wait to have the full experience. That's what Jesus did. It was a foretaste, a hint, a promise of the world to come. As we read about it, we find ourselves thinking, yes, that is what it's supposed to be like. The world describing Revelation is not so unbelievable after all, if the events of Mark 5 really did happen. The world we all want isn't a fantasy or just a dream. God hasn't just promised it to us, he's given us a glimpse of what it's like in history. The world we all want can be the world we live in. And the Bible says that all that depends on Jesus and what we do with him and our understanding of him. This is the first in a series of videos. In the next one, we'll be asking the question, what's gone wrong?